G'day legends, I hope that you're all doing well. And there's been a few people reach out and ask about how my health is going because they hear it in my voice. Absolutely nothing to worry about. I've got a scan on my foot tomorrow, the one I hurt while I was in Turkey, and I'm just battling with some cold and flu and stuff like that. Because of, the tumour and the chemo and all this other stuff, my body still is very susceptible to different things. So if there's something going around, I'll get it. And then I've got some other scans on my stomach and whatever coming up in the future, but nothing to worry about. Also as well, I think I've sorted my audio out. There was some issues because of some of the pieces of my camera that I broke. I hope that is all sorted. Let's jump into the maps. Groups online from both sides are claiming that Ukrainian forces have blown up a dam in northern Bakhmut to cut off Russian troops and potentially change their angle of attack. Now let's look into where that is. And as always, got the map zoomed out as much as we can. So here we have Ukraine, capital of Kyiv, Romania, Poland, Belarus, Russia, and of course the red area has been captured since the 24th of February 22, and the purpley maroon area has been captured and annexed since 2014. So we're going to zoom in here on Bakhmut. Now the region they're talking about is this dam here. And we have some bits of information coming out. This was from a pro-Russian channel stating this dam with these photographs, and then a more pro-Ukraine Twitter account sharing this, and then the photographs we have, this one of where it has drained out, and then the one that went viral was this video. Now, something we want to talk about is, if this is true, does that mean we can also assume that then there are no Ukrainian troops left on the north of this river? Because what they're claiming online, the tactic was if you break this dam wall here, and then this floods down this river, creating sort of it's not natural, but a water blockade for the Russian forces to not move across here and make it a lot more difficult on Russia's southern advance here. But what I'm saying is, can then we assume that there are no Ukrainian troops in sort of the north area of this river? I'm not sure if they're prepared to flood it. And I should also say that I haven't really seen any proper, photographed, credible information actually on this. But it's something to, I guess, talk about. So we're going to look on Google Maps and have a look at this. So if we drop down here, I believe there is somewhere on the bridge we can have a look at. That's what I wanted to look at. Secondly, let's zoom in. There's one in the middle. Let's have a look there. So this is facing away, and this is that reservoir dam that it's saying has been compromised, blown up, and is now flooding in this direction, being out through here. But what I wanted to look at was, of course, this is a very different time of year to, what we'll be looking at now, just because of the weather. What would be more comparative is this. Now, I do not know if this river is frozen over or not yet. It looks a lot different from these photographs, which we don't have great ones of. So I am waiting on more confirmation before we come to a conclusion of what actually happened. Because as I said, I haven't really seen any good visual confirmation of this other than, these few photographs circling. But other than that, what movement have we seen in Bakhmut? Well, we have seen and talked about in the last couple of days a Ukrainian southern offensive having success. So let's have a look today. We're the 26th of February. And if we go back to the 25th, we can see that there has been some more push of the Russians to the south. My friend in this region has said that Ukraine is having successful counteroffensives on the Russians in the south here. And if we roll back a few days, we will see that that line then moves further south. And what have we seen? Is there been any Russian advance in the past 24? So that was to the 25th, 26th, not very much movement other than the claims of this dam. Now, the ISW state, the Institute of War state, there's been significant fighting in Avdiivka, Mariinka down here, as well as Vuhledar, which is further south, and in Seversk, which is north of Bakhmut. Although I have had a look before to and from, and there hasn't been any major shifts of the front line here, at least showing up on the map. Also, the ISW say that there has been unsuccessful Russian offensive assaults in Mastovkia, which is in this region here. And if we zoom out, you'll see where that is. This is 50 kilometers to the northwest of Svdov. And also in Nevsky, which is, I believe, 18 kilometres northwest of Kremenar. So if we look, Kremenar, and 18 kilometres northwest, which is a fair way in here, but it's in the direction, also in the Serebrenska forest area, which is in here. We've talked about this before because we saw this right angle of the Ukrainians push up. And if we have a look on the satellite in this deep forest region, as well as Russian unsuccessful counteroffensive in Bolokhovka in here. And if we roll through the last couple of days, let's see any border movement. Not really. So this region is very hot, as well as in Nevsky and Mostovskia. But we're not seeing much move on the front line. Now, the ISW assessed two main efforts of the Russian forces. Main effort number one being the Luhansk Oblast, and the Russian objective is to capture the remainder of the Luhansk Oblast, continue offensive operations into eastern Kharkiv Oblast and northern Donetsk. Russian main effort number two is the Donetsk Oblast. Russians' objective is to capture the entirety of the Donetsk Oblast, claim territory of Russia's proxies in Donbass. But today, in the past 24 hours, we've seen little movement on the maps. So that will end our mapping for today. In an interview with CBS News, the CIA Director Bill Burns confirmed that China is considering sending lethal aid to Russia. He's saying, "We're confident that Chinese leadership is considering the provision of lethal equipment." Although he did continue with stating that China has not yet made a decision whether to send Russia lethal aid or not. And in an attempt to deter China from making the decision, the administration is making the information public. He continues saying, "We also don't see that a final decision has been made yet, and we don't see evidence of actual shipments of lethal equipment." And that's why I think Secretary Blinken and the President have thought it important to make very clear what the consequences of that would be as well. China is a country with an unbelievable military might and technology, but it relies incredibly heavily on importing things like natural resources and technology. As well, we rely heavily on the exports from China. Further sanctions on China would have a noticeable impact on both China and the West. The ISW report that Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko plans to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping, possibly to assist Russia and China in sanction evasion, amidst reports that China is seriously considering sending lethal aid. Lukashenko announced plans to visit China from February the 28th, which is in 2 days, until March the 2nd, and to meet with Xi Jinping, likely to sign agreements on trade, investment, and large-scale joint projects. One day after the first of Poland's German-made Leopard 2 tanks arrived in Ukraine, Russia has switched off the taps and stopped sending oil to Poland through the Druzhba, what means friendship pipeline. This pipeline has been exempted from the EU sanctions on Russia. The Polish refiner, their chief executive, Daniel Obachek, states Poland was prepared for this and only 10% of its crude oil had been coming from Russia, and that it will be replaced by other sources. The company said its gasoline and diesel deliveries would not be disrupted. Now, reports that Croatian Defence Ministry would donate some of its Soviet-made Mi-8 helicopters to Ukraine came about last year in around November. Today, it was reported that delivery of 12 Mi-8 MTV-1 and 2 Mi-8T helicopters from Croatia to Ukraine is underway, bringing the total to 14. Although Croatia and their aid to Ukraine has been kept under covers a lot because there is a bit of a dispute between the President and the Prime Minister about support for Ukraine. And that's it for today, guys. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time again. If you'd like to support me, there's links down below, but never feel obligated at all to do that. But I really appreciate your time. Look after yourselves, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.